This is scary. Guide 13, and we're doing a Hellcat. That's what we're doing. All right, Guide 13, Lucas. We got a 1970 Edgewood Hellcat, which is technically an Oldsmobile 442, which is a cool ass car. I love this car. So let's read the story, and we'll get into fixing on it. Hey, I'm coming to you with a very sentimental task. This Hellcat is the only piece of my grandma I have. The condition may not be perfect, but I really care about making it into something that would resemble production condition. Grandpa takes great care of it, but he's showing his age just like this car. He could use a fresh approach to the subject. I want to surprise him. The condition of the exploitation elements should be fine, but the rest, the more difficult to access parts, have surpassed the capabilities of my grandpa. Please take care of this classic piece for me. See you. Change and drain the oil. Again, all of our story cars have had this, so we should be fine there. And there'll be other tasks to take on as well. So let's go ahead and take the order. It is dirty, so we're going to be the nice mechanic and wash the customer's car. You know, it's just what you do. Get it all cleaned up for them, nice. Put the paper in the, the floor so you don't get your greasy boots on that car. All right, so she's all cleaned up. Let's check the car status. So we have 3 pages of undiscovered parts. Let's go on a mission. Change the oil, other tasks. Change brake fluid, change the power steering. Perform a wheel alignment. So at the end of our last story order, and our last guide, we did purchase the test path, which is useful because we're going to have to align the wheels. So I knew there was a story car coming up that we had to do a wheel alignment, so glad we did that. Refill windshield washer fluid. So I'm just gonna do that, the fluid stuff right now. Look at the heads on this car. Those heads are rusty as all get out. So I'm just betting we're doing some engine work here. Let's go ahead and fill up our fluid. Get our drain tool. Drain the power steering fluid. They didn't have to do the coolant on this one. And the brake master cylinder's back here on the firewall. Get the brake fluid out. And part unmount the caps. Put in new coolant. Or new coolant. New brake fluid. Let's not put coolant in the brake master cylinder. And some new power steering fluid. Gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. Alright, she's all in there. Let's go to our additional tools. This is an old car. It doesn't have an onboard diagnostic port or an onboard computer, so can't use that tool. Compression test. Well, the engine can't start. All right. Can we do a electronic multimeter? Yes, we can. All right, 0.14 there. We have one part that looks bad. And so we have a starter that's bad. Okay. Can we get to the starter easy on this? Do we have to be in the engine? No, we can. Good. Let's just go to the tablet. Go to the electronics store and buy a plain old starter. Part mount. It's a starter V8. Dang it. Fine. So we have an extra starter for the next car we need that needs a starter. Alright. Car status. Starter fixed. Can we do more diagnostics now? Part unmount. Additional tools. I know. Why did I pick the OBD scanner? Compression test. Alright, we got good compression. It's in the 10s, so we probably got good compression. Doesn't mean all the parts are good, but at least we have compression. Okay, bad crankshaft. All right, so we're gonna have to get underneath this car. Okay, electronic multimeter we did. Let's check the tires. 90% tire, 93% tire, 85, and a 90. So the tires check out. They're good. And fuel pressure test. Yeah, that doesn't look very good as far as pressure goes. It's definitely not up in the green. So we have a bad fuel pump too. Fuel pump is easy to replace. That is back here. And the fuel tank, there's the bad fuel pump. Pop this up. Let's get rid of the old starter, get rid of the old fuel pump. Pull up our tablet, go to the car parts store. Just type in fuel. Fuel pump right there. Part mount. Mount up the fuel pump. Alright, so we got some parts already fixed just as we were washing and diagnosing on the car, which is useful. We know. I think I hit mute before I sneezed. I think I did. Hopefully I got that before I sneezed on you folks. I'm pretty sure these heads are going to be bad. We know we have to get to the crank. Holy cow, look at that. Oil filter's bad, but this cross member looks bad. Let's go to examine mode. I'm just going to examine that right away. Yep, that is red. Let's do the suspension on this side. Actually, you know what? Hey, let's save the game here. Let's go ahead and go to examine mode. Let's just examine the engine. And then we're going to go take this thing to the test path. And we'll do the test path for the suspension and the brake system. I'll show you how that works. Hey, that belt is bad. It's interesting that if we're gonna we have good pistons, good piston rings, but we have to take and repair the crank. Well, how can you get the crankshaft out? You have to pull all the pistons. So we're gonna have to tear this engine out just to get to that one part. Let's move it to the test path. How to start a test. You come over to this computer here. Engine cannot be started. Gosh darn it. That's fine. But you know what we can do? We can go ahead and align the wheels. And the way this works is kind of like a mini game. What you're trying to do is get the front wheel to line up to the back wheel. And you just move these until they're in the green. There we go. So the wheels are aligned. And once you have them there, you just hit escape. And that saves the wheel alignment. And if you go over here to car status, other task, perform wheel alignments to calibrate them. So we got a green box there. All right, so we know this engine has some work to be done. We got to drain the oil. Cross member on the front is crap. Was that, did that pop up on the parts list? Front suspension cross member, yeah, it did. Okay, so we're gonna have to tear out the front suspension anyway. So I'm just going to start there and just start tearing this stuff out. Start at the wheel because the suspension arms here hook in to the cross member. So you're going to have to pull that out, even though these parts are actually look like they're in good shape, to be able to get to the cross member. Let's get over here. Brakes look fine. Take the upper suspension arm off. Do I have to take the upper suspension arm off? Actually, let me think. I don't think I have to get to the cross member. So I'll just leave that on. Part unmount. The reason we have to pull the tie rods, we have to pull the steering rack out to be able to get to the cross member. Or do we? Maybe I'm wrong there. Just pull these bushings out. Can I pull the cross member? No. Okay. Can I take the suspension arm off? No. Can I take this off? Yes. I can pull the shock. Can I pull the lower suspension arm? I can do that without taking the wheel off. Okay. Can I take the tie rod off? Nope. Can I take this off? Hey! Alright, so I took off more on this side than I needed to. I'm just going to put those back on. The wheel back on? Why not? Take off less than we need to, right? So we're able to get to the cross member without having to pull the wheels. Well, that's fun. Huh. Alright, let's drain the oil. Oil is draining. No, I'm going to have to take that oil filter. I'm just going to pull it right now. I think I'm going to take the engine and take it over to the engine stand to do this work. Partially because I know this belt's bad. We're going to have to get into the crank, which you can't get to the crankshaft without pulling the trans anyway. So we might as well just pull the engine just because it's easier to work with. Alright, that. 4 bolts, front and back, drive shaft. Pull off our starter that we had just replaced. Pull off the front exhaust pieces. Pull the trans. Okay, trans is pulled. Now we should be able to pull the engine. So I'll bring the car down out of the air. I'll grab my cherry picker, move it to the Hellcat, pull the engine out, take the engine over to our engine stand, install the engine on the stand. Okay, then we can start tearing out the engine. Start at the back here with the clutch release bearing and the clutch pressure plate. Clutch plate, which looked rusted, and the flywheel. Alright. Off the exhaust manifold on this side. Pull the plugs. Valve covers. And rockers. And the rockers are out, and then we'll pull the valve push rods. And let's get the air filter cover, air filter base, carb, and the intake. Takes off. Now I should be able to pull this head. Which bolt am I missing? There it is. Okay, the head's out. And just because I am a curious guy, I'm going to pop back to the car, check my car status, engine head. Yep, both engine heads are valve. Oh, hang on. Valve push rods. So we have all the parts identified. So the valve push rods were bad. Okay. Okay, that's off. Let's get these rockers off. Oh, maybe I'm getting that rocker off. Jeez. Helps to click in the right spot. And the rockers, you kind of click towards the back of the rocker back there. That signifies removing the rocker. Push rods. And the spark plugs. Let's reach down here, get the exhaust manifold off so we can pull the engine head. Okay, that's done. Rotate this bad boy. I know these belts are bad, so get to the belts, pull the fan. Then I can take that belt and this belt. Crankshaft pulley's gonna have to come off because we got to get the crankshaft off. Pull the oil pan. Okay, and these bearing caps are crap. I can tell you just by looking straight at them. They're all rusted to heck. Okay. Now to be able to pull the crankshaft, like right now if I go to pull crank, it won't. I have to take these rod caps off. I don't remember if I have to pull the pistons or not. I think I do. We're going to just take the rod caps off all the pistons first. And see if we can take the crank out and leave the pistons in, which I don't think you can do in real life. So I don't think they'll let you do it in the game. Few more rod caps. Well, I'm going to have to pull the timing too because, gosh, there's a chain that's hooked into the crank as well. Timing cover. The camshaft bearing looks like crap. Alright, it will not let you pull that without pulling the pistons, so we're going to have to pull the pistons. Which isn't a big deal, you just click once the rod caps are off. Alright, can I pull the crank now? I can. Alright. Everything else, does the camshaft look okay? Yeah, camshaft looks fine. Block looks fine. The engine whirler looks fine. The lightning whirler. Alright. Are there any parts here that I can... we can repair the engine head. Okay, now here's a trick. I like trying to stop when it's the green is in the last two. You'll notice when I started that, it wasn't in that position. Just hit escape and wait for it to get to that spot, because that gives you 4 boxes to repair in. Alright, so that engine head is repaired. So we're able to repair 1 engine head. Camshaft bearing cap. That we were able to repair. Rod caps we don't need to repair. we're able to repair a couple of parts. That's cool. Let's just double check our parts list. So cam gear, yep. Clutch plate, okay. Crankshaft, yep. Camshaft bearing caps, engine heads, front suspension crossmember, the oil filter, rubber bushing, 4. Okay. Oh, the ones that probably went in the crossmember. Serpentine belt, starter, timing chain, and then the rest is valve push rods. All right, so if we pull up our inventory, let's sort by condition. Need 4 rubber bushings, an oil filter, crankshaft. We'll need 16 push rods, serpentine belt, clutch plate, 2 crankshaft bearing caps, serpentine belt A, engine head, 2 timing chain, front suspension cross member. Rest of this was fine stuff. So pop to our shop. Rubber bushings, we need 4. Oil filter for a V8 overhead valve. Crankshaft for a V8 overhead valve. Valve push rods. There's 2 per cylinder. 8-cylinder engine. 8 times 2, 16. Serpentine belt. Clutch plate. Crankshaft bearing cap. We repaired 1. Was there yeah, there's just 3. Serpentine belt A. Engine head 2. Timing chain. The front suspension cross member. Alright, let's go to part mount. Put on the oil filter, crankshaft. Then we'll go through the process of putting in the pistons first. And what I do is I just click on the piston and I smash enter a couple of times. It puts on the rings. Alright, rings on. Let's put on the rod caps. And the crankshaft bearing caps. Rod caps. Crankshaft bearing cap. And 2 more rod caps. Alright, oil pan. New flywheel, or the old flywheel, excuse me. The new clutch plate. The old clutch pressure plate. And a clutch release bearing. I'll roll over here. We'll get the, oh, didn't buy a cam gear. Cam gear. Timing chain. Timing cover. Crankshaft pulley. Water pump. Water pump pulley. Put on the belt. Belt. And a fan. Rotate the engine. Get the engine heads on. New ones. Did I buy 3? Well, oh, I bought 2, but I had repaired 1. Gosh darn, so we didn't have to buy 2 heads. That's fine, so we'll just save that, so we have an extra V8 overhead valve engine head. Well, that was silly. And all the new nice push rods. And the corresponding rockers. After a while, you get pretty good at knowing where to click to put on your rockers and your valve caps, and you can get pretty routine at doing this. Engine head cover. Slap down the bolts. Spark plugs. Exhaust manifolds. Just rotate around and we do the same on the other side. Engine head. Okay. Push rods. And then the corresponding rockers. Slap these on, click, and bolt. Click, and bolt. Click, bolt. Alright, rockers are in place, the valve cover. Okay, those are on. Put on the 4 spark plugs. And the exhaust manifold. And spark plug wires. Hop up on top, we can do the intake. And the carb. Air filter base. Air filter. And an air filter top. And a wing nut. There we go. So this engine is repaired. So let's take it off the engine stand. Take it over to our cherry picker. Install the engine. Move it back. And let's put some oil in it. Gonna need oil, right? Oil's in. Pull on the dipstick. Oh, maybe I did. Engine is good. Pop it up in the air. And let's mount the cross member. The new rubber bushings. Hopefully these were the rubber bushings that were bad. And not the ones that are in the lower suspension arm. We'll find out, right? Well, actually, we can just check car status right now. Yeah, rubber bushings are satisfied. So all we really have left to repair is the starter, and we have to re-perform the wheel alignment, probably because I pulled the wheels. My bad. But that takes like 2 seconds to do, so it's not a big deal. End link. Let's get this front exhaust piece back on. Transmission back on. Pop on the new starter we had purchased. Front exhaust piece. Click the drive shaft. 4 bolts in front, 4 bolts in back. Okay. And the lower suspension arm and shock on this side. Oh, and the end link. Alright, car status. We just have to go realign the wheels. So let's move the car to our test path. We're in the test path, go to the alignment machine, and we had mucked with the front. So realign it. There we go. Should be good. Car status. Done, done, and done. 7,300 bucks. And we leveled and got a case. Let's pop the case open. Yeah, we'll just start 1 and 2. Hey, we got a bonus case on 1 and some scrap. Next case, we're going to do 3 and 4. Scrap and 1,200 bucks. Not a case, but that's okay. And then let's sell parts. That 1 push rod. And we have an extra engine head and an extra starter because somebody bought the wrong stuff. That's all right. Let's just head to our engine, our mechanic spot here. Available skill points 5. This costs 5. Do we want fast hands or strong arms? We'll do strong arms first. Almost have these maxed out, so it's going to be faster to remove parts. Save the game. Welcome to the end of a video here, Parker. Go to our orders. The preview is a 1980 through 83 Edmund Yeager. Change oil, spray factory color, other task, and a long story, but we will read that in the next guide. So that's the preview. Thanks for your attention. We will see you in the next one. Lucas, Parker, Isaac, hope you liked it.